The year is 644. As the sun sets in the desert of Arabia, a man looks into the horizon and remembers a battle fought exactly 20 years ago. On that day, a small group of men with a firm belief fought a much larger army that came to crush their existence. Yet they won and forever changed the course of human history. In history, this event is known as the Battle of Badr. 7th century, Arabia. The whole region was divided into territories ruled by different cities or tribes. One of the most prominent of these cities was Mecca. Here in year 610, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, started preaching Islam. At first, only a few people joined the new religion. However, as the years passed by, the number of the Muslims in Mecca gradually started to increase. But most of the people, especially the leaders in Mecca, refused to follow Islam for fear of losing their political and social status. They tried their best to stop the spreading of Islam. Despite this opposition, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, kept inviting the people of Mecca relentlessly for almost 12 years. At the same time, the torture of the leaders of Mecca on the new Muslims also intensified. The situation became so dire that people started migrating from Mecca to different places, mainly to Abyssinia, which is modern-day Ethiopia. Somewhere around this time, the leaders of Mecca even attempted to assassinate the Prophet, peace be upon him. But Allah revealed their plan, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, escaped the assassins and migrated from Mecca. He took shelter in different mountains to avoid the assassins, and after 14 days, he reached a city named Yathrib. This event took place in year 622. In Yathrib, the people welcomed the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Muslims from Mecca, and many of them accepted Islam. Here, the Prophet, peace be upon him, established the first Islamic state and renamed the city as Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, shortly known as Medina. The Muslims who migrated to other places eventually joined the Muslims here. But the leaders of Mecca did not give up in their pursuit to stop Islam. They immediately started planning on attacking the Muslims in Medina and started accumulating resources and men for the mission. Medina is located around 450 km in the north of Mecca. This gave the Muslim a strategic advantage. The economy of Mecca was highly dependent on trade with Syria. Caravans from Mecca were frequently moving goods between these two places. Medina was located along this trade route, and the Muslim took the opportunity to intercept the trade route and put pressure on Meccan economy. In year 624, a big caravan of Mecca was coming home from Syria under the leadership of Abu Sufyan. It had only 40 guards. A good portion of the capital of the caravan was actually accumulated by looting the properties of the Muslims once they left the city of Mecca. When the news of this caravan reached Medina, the Muslim decided to attack the caravan on its route, and Prophet, peace be upon him, marched out of the city with around 310 companions. They thought this would be enough force to overwhelm the caravan guards. This would mean the Mecca will not get enough provision and their plan to attack Medina will be delayed. However, Abu Sufyan had sent scouts in advance to check the trade route, and the news reached him that a group of Muslims were advancing to intercept his caravan. So he immediately sent a messenger to Mecca asking for help and took a different route to avoid confronting the Muslims. Upon receiving the message from Abu Sufyan, the leaders of Mecca assembled an army of around 1,000 men and marched towards Medina to protect the caravan and defeat the Muslims. Meanwhile, as Abu Sufyan moved towards Mecca by taking a different route, the Muslims could not intercept the caravan at the pre-planned location. At the same time, they received the news that a large army from Mecca is marching towards them. The situation became critical for the Muslims as they were not prepared to face such force. While the Meccan army was marching towards Medina, Abu Sufyan safely reached Mecca and then sent another messenger to the Meccan army to return home. But the Meccan leaders marching with the army thought this was a good chance for them to crush the weak Muslim army. So they decided not to turn back and to continue marching towards Medina to meet the Muslim force. In the Muslim camp, the situation was critical. The Muslim got the news of the advancing enemy and understood there was no turning back. They immediately started planning and decided not to retreat but meet the advancing Meccan army. They camped near a valley called Badr and prepared to meet the enemy. When the Muslims arrived at Badr Valley, they first camped near the edge of the valley, which was close to Medina. Groups of Muslims spread around the valley to scout the area and then returned to the camp. Based on their information, the Muslims shifted the camp closer towards the main well of Badr so that the enemy do not have access to this well. After ensuring that, they also sent groups to cover the smaller wells of Badr completely with sand. Thus, the enemy would not have any access to any water source in the valley. Meccans reached the Badr Valley on 12th of March in year 624. They camped on the opposite side of the valley near the direction to Mecca. The next morning, the Muslim and the Meccan armies came face to face in Badr. As the Meccans started advancing with battle cries, the Muslims took position for the last stand. The Muslims had around 300 to 317 men and arranged themselves in battle formation in 3 rows according to a strategy called as-saf or the rows system. The front row consisted of men carrying spears. The second row was for archers and the rest of the infantry were stationed in the third row. The Meccans subdivided their army in different groups. At the front, they stationed the cavalry, which consisted of around 100 horsemen. Behind the cavalry, they stationed 600 infantry in different groups, and at the last row, they had groups of around 300 archers. When both the armies took their position, the Meccans sent 3 of their best warriors forward to challenge the 3 best warriors of the Muslims for one-to-one battle. The 3 Meccans were Utbah bin Rabi'ah, Shaiba bin Rabi'ah and Al-Walid bin Utbah. The Muslim took the challenge and sent Ubaidah bin Harith, Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib and Ali ibn Abu Talib, peace be upon them, to face the Meccan challengers. After an intense one-to-one battle for a while, Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu killed Shaiba, and soon after Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu killed Al-Walid. However, Utbah overpowered Ubaidah radiallahu ta'ala anhu and injured him. But Hamza and Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhum could run to his aid on time. They killed Utbah and brought injured Ubaidah radiallahu ta'ala anhu back to the camp. The Meccans could see no other option but to charge forward before their men lost their complete morale. The whole Meccan army charged with their full might on the Muslim defense line. But the Muslim spearmen held the charge of the Meccan cavalry, and the arrows shot by the Muslim archers decimated the Meccan cavalry. They soon turned back and started to retreat. Still, the Meccans did not give up. The rest of the Meccan army took the charge and attacked the Muslim defense lines like a big wave. Again, the Muslim defenders held their position and resisted the Meccan charge. As the Meccan tried to break the first line of Muslim defense, the arrows shot by Muslim archers caused serious casualty to the Meccans. At this point in the battle, the head of the Meccan army, Abu Jahl, got killed, and seeing the fall of Abu Jahl, the Meccan started to retreat. This gave the Muslims extra vigor, and the Muslim infantry now charged on the retreating Meccans. Amid this, another Meccan leader named Umayyah bin Khalaf got killed. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. The Meccans were terrified seeing the fall of their leaders and the fighting spirit of the Muslims. They completely lost their morale. The Meccan formation were in disarray and they started fleeing haphazardly from the battlefield. The Muslim chased them and tried to do as much damage to the Meccans as possible by either killing or capturing as many Meccans as they could. When the dust finally settled on the battlefield, it was the Muslim who raised their flag as victors against the colossal odds. Although the Meccans were 3 times larger than the Muslims, they could not overcome the devoutness and love of the Muslims for their religion, Islam. They lost 70 men on the battlefield, and the same number of men were captured by the Muslims as prisoners of war. The Muslims also took damage and lost 14 companions on the battlefield. This clear victory of the Muslims over the large Meccan force established them as a force to reckon with in the Arabian Peninsula. This victory strengthened the influence of Islam on the surrounding regions of Medina and paved the way for further expansion. On the day of Battle of Badr, the Muslims stopped taking threats from the Meccans and started pushing back. With this victory, the tide of Islam would reach to Spain in the west and to India in the east within few centuries. But that is a story for another day.